all things automotive. What oil to use, what engine is best. Is this car worth the hassle that I put into it to keep it running every single day? That's what we're doing. That's what we're here for. That's what we love to do every Saturday at 3 p.m. 844-580-9326, 844-580 WDBO will put you on the air with Larry answering your questions. Osman is calling in from Orlando. Go ahead, Osman.
Hi, Larry.
Hey, buddy.
I'm working on a 2010 Ford Fusion, and I'm in the process of replacing all four spark plugs. However, one of the spark plugs seemed to be frozen in place, and I'm using extreme caution to try to avoid stripping the threads. I did put some PD Blaster, let it soak for about 5-10 minutes, and re-attempted to remove it, but I'm afraid I'm applying too much torque or force. I might strip the threads. What do you recommend moving forward?
Listen, Osman, I'm gonna tell you that there's some vehicles. How many miles are on this car?
176,000.
Okay. Do you know if it's ever had spark plugs before?
No.
Okay.
That car was bought like a year ago.
All right. I'm gonna guess it's probably never had spark plugs, and I'm gonna use you as a poster child. And this sounds terrible, but we'll get to your problem here in a second, folks. This is what happens if you don't replace your spark plugs at 100,000 miles. And it's common. It happens all the time. You get a vehicle in, it starts running bad. It's got 150,000 miles on it. Mechanic tells you, well, you need to have a tune-up done, and you can't. And then they find out they can't get the spark plugs out of the aluminum head. See, the spark plug is made out of steel, and your cylinder head is made out of aluminum, and these are dissimilar metals. So if you leave them in there together too long, they'll literally grow together. And then when the mechanic goes to remove the spark plug, it usually will break off in the head, or it brings the threads with it. That's the reason, 100,000 mile, you got to have the spark plugs replaced in your engine. If you don't, and you leave them in there, they may work for another 20,000 mile, but guess what? Whenever you do have to have them removed, they're not going to come out. So just kind of keep that in mind. 100,000 mile, you got to do a tune-up on the car, even if it's running perfect. If not, you're going to be looking at World War III when you do have a problem. Osman, in your case, and listen, I have had way more experience with spark plugs and aluminum cylinder heads than I'd love to admit. This is a situation, from Ford's Triton engines that they made for all the F-150s during a certain period of time. They were well known. If you tried to remove those spark plugs, bam, the daggone spark plugs would break off in the head. And what a nightmare to try to get those things out. So we learned a lot during that period. And the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to put this thing back together with that spark plug still in the engine. You can go ahead and put your new ones in. Go ahead and put everything back together, put your coils back in, the whole 9 yards, and you start this engine up, and you get it good and hot. Get it up to normal operating temperature. Then you're going to go and you're going to pull the coil back off of the C spark plug and see if it'll break loose and come out then. I want that engine as hot as you can get it, and then try to remove the spark plug. What we're doing is we're trying to get that aluminum head to expand just a little bit to take some of the pressure off of the threads of that spark plug. But if it's already tight and you're trying to bring that thing out of there in a cold cylinder head, I guarantee you're going to bring the threads with it. Your best bet is get that motor as good and hot as you can. Just put everything back together just the way it was, start it up, run it, get it good and hot. Then go ahead and shut it off, and then try to get that spark plug out of there as fast as you can while that cylinder head is still containing that heat from the engine being ran. But you got to do it while the motor is hot. And on the Ford trucks, we had to do that. We had to go through that procedure on every spark plug. Start the engine up, get it run it, get it good and hot, and then put the new plug in. Start it back up, get the other one good and hot to take it out. If you didn't, you would wind up pulling the threads, or the plug would just break off in the head. So try that procedure. That's the only hope you have. Other than that, if the spark plug breaks off, the cylinder head's coming off of it most likely, because on that one you're probably going to have to drill it out if it breaks off, and then there'll have to be a time cert placed inside the head for the new threads, be able to put a new spark plug back in it. So try my method. If that don't work, well, have a good weekend anyway, Osman. We appreciate your call, buddy.
Thank you.
Hi, folks. Larry Perry here. For automotive information, maybe you got automotive questions on cars, trucks, vans, SUVs. Maybe you're thinking about purchasing a used vehicle, and maybe you just want my opinion. Tune in to the Magic Mechanic radio show every Saturday, 3 to 5 p.m. on wdbo.com. Also tune in to our Magic Mechanic YouTube channel, and don't forget to subscribe. And we'll all get together, maybe fix a few cars while we're at it.